then. Senator Shoebridge, you have the call.
Thanks, Chair. I've got some questions about weapons exports. My first question is, do we have any current military export permits with Sudan? Between 2017 and 2023, there were 9 active permits. And I'm just wondering how many we have now.
Senator David Knuckles, First Assistant Secretary, Defence Trade, Regulation and Industrial Collaboration. I think your question was, do we have any permits for Sudan? Is that correct?
And noting that between 2017 and 2023 there were 9 active permits?
I'd have to take that on notice. I don't have that data with me.
All right. Well, I mean, Sudan's in the middle of an appalling war driven by its neighbours and others in the region. And you're saying you're not sure whether or not we're exporting weapons to Sudan?
As I said, Senator, I don't have that data with me.
Well, are there any export permits to Sudan?
I think I've just answered the question. I don't have that data with me.
Well, you say you don't, but do you know? I mean, you're responsible for exports. You surely would know whether or not we're exporting weapons into a conflict like Sudan.
I think I said I'll take that on notice.
Okay, you don't know. You're taking on notice because you don't know?
I think, Senator, you know that officials aren't required to provide a reason. The officials
Well, they are,
taken it
actually.
on notice.
They are required. You can't just say, I'll take it on notice.
I believe that officials may take any matter on notice so as to ensure that they provide accurate information to the Senate.
But also, if you'd listened to the Chair, Minister, officials are required to provide what evidence and what knowledge they have when they're sitting at the table. So again, I'm just going to ask Mr Knuckles, do you know if Australia has any defence export permits with Sudan?
Senator, I think I've just said I don't, and that's why I would take that on notice.
You now say you don't. All right. You do know that the UN has found that the United Arab Emirates is diverting weapons to the RSF militia in Sudan. Are you aware of that? If not you, is anyone in defence aware of this?
Senator, as we've discussed before, apologies, Hugh Jeffrey, Deputy Secretary, Strategy, Policy, Industry. As we've discussed before, we do keep all export permits under contemporaneous review.
Have you reviewed?
I've been familiar with the reports that you mentioned in relation to the ongoing conflict in Sudan. In the case of all extant permits, we'll be looking at those. We'll be looking at decisions that we've made in relation to export permits and review them if circumstances change.
Have you reviewed any weapons permits to Sudan as a result, or to the UAE, as a result of the UN's finding that the UAE is diverting weapons to the RSF militia in Sudan?
Senator, you'll forgive me, we've had this conversation before. A permit does not equate to a weapon. A permit can equate to a range of things. So when you're asking me questions about weapons permits, I will refer you to our previous evidence around the fact that we grant permits for a range of controlled goods, which could be weapons in and of themselves. It could be,
have you reviewed any weapons,
items.
any military export permits, however you want to describe them, that have been granted to either Sudan or the United Arab Emirates since the UN found that the UAE is diverting weapons to the RSF militia in Sudan?
Senator, we will take on notice in relation to the question that Dr. David Knuckles took from you in relation to the question on exports to, or export permits in relation to Sudan.
Well, I've asked about both Sudan and the UAE. You would know. I assume you're the head of the area, which is not massive, which does this work. You would know whether or not there is any review of existing export permits for control goods to Sudan or the UAE. And if you do know that, you should answer it. That's your job in estimates. and it's the requirement as the chair read out at the beginning. Do you know if there's a review?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, Mr. Knox.
So, Senator, when we look at, and as Mr. Jeffrey just said, when we look at any permit application, we look at them on a case-by-case basis, and as Mr. Jeffrey said, a permit does not equate to a weapon. We look at controlled goods on the DSGL, or the Defence Strategic Goods
That really
list.
wasn't my question.
And
my question was, have you done a review? And you're just giving me the same answer 7 times that I've already heard 7
Senator.
times in 7 different estimates. He's deliberately trying to chew up time.
He's not, but you're also
and
asking
is
the same
unhelpful.
question 7 different times too.
Well, I'm
but, like,
asking
just
about
let
a
the
review of the
witness-
permits. I don't want a history lecture on the permits. Is there a review of the permits?
So, Senator, I was seeking to respond to your question. So there's a range of ways that we manage permit applications. We run due diligence over the application. So that is comprehensive checks on the potential end user, their compliance history, links to any high-risk jurisdictions. We also engage across the Commonwealth in terms of intelligence holdings, so that's at a whole-of-government level. So we'll take advice from partner agencies in terms of their reporting, and potentially that might even involve international partners as well. We have a potential then to use either an end-use or non-transfer certificate that goes with the application, and so that provides us an opportunity to seek confirmation from the end user that they will work to specific constraints that we might have around that, which would obviously mean export to a third country, and then obviously potentially permit conditions might be attached to the permit that we provide, and there might be sort of limiting permit parameters, length of time, number of items, etc. So there are a range of ways that we would manage a particular permit application, and then, as I think we have provided testimony in previous estimates, as circumstances change, then potentially we'll need to keep things under review.
Have you undertaken a review of any export permits of controlled goods to either Sudan or the UAE since the UN found that the UAE is diverting weapons to the RSF militia? Have you undertaken a review?
So, Senator, I think I've answered the question.
No, you
in the
haven't,
sense that we
Mr. Knuckles.
constantly keep things under scrutiny and review, in the sense that if circumstances change and there's a requirement to go back and
Well, there's
look
kind
at
of a genocide happening,
permits
so
that will
circumstances have
actually-
changed. Have you undertaken a review of weapons exports either going to Sudan, where there's a genocide going on, or going to the UAE, which is diverting weapons to a genocide in Sudan? Have you undertaken a review in light of that? And if you can't say that, and we just get this discursive non-answer because it's embarrassing because there's weapons going into a genocide, just tell me that.
Senator, if it helps you, I will say that I have not directed a review. I think Mr. Knuckles' answer is not an attempt to obscure this
No
point.
review. All right, I get it. No review.
Ask me,
No
if you
review.
could let me finish, Senator Shoebridge. The point I think we're trying to make is we discuss these issues all the time. The legislative criteria on which our export control regime works means that the kinds of questions you're asking us happen as a matter of course. If there is extant permits, we need to keep them under contemporaneous review, and that's the way it works.
I know the Coalition wants to get to other agencies. There's no review. You haven't asked for a review, and there's no review.
What we're saying to you is that if there is a permit, Senator Shoebridge, they're always being reviewed against contemporary conditions.
Well, have they been reviewed against contemporary conditions? Has anyone looked at the fact of the genocide?
I think I've just...
No, let me finish. Has anyone looked at the fact of the genocide, the fact of the UAE feeding weapons into the genocide, the fact that the UAE is one of our largest destinations for exports of weapons, and the fact that we also had previously, and we probably still do, have export permits to Sudan, and there's a genocide going on? Has anyone looked at those facts?
Well, Senator, you're asserting a range of facts there. I think, obviously the question on genocides are
obscene levels of killing you can see from satellite levels.
Important one, and we wouldn't, in answering the question, necessarily endorse your description.
Well, what about the piles of bodies? Well, put to one side genocide. The piles of bodies you can see from a satellite level as a result of the killing, the mass killing that's been undertaken by the RSF, that the UAE is arming. Let's say it's not genocide. Let's just say the piles of bodies you can see from the satellites. In light of that, have you done a review?
Senator, I think we've answered your question.
Have you done a review since we can see those piles of bodies? From a force that we know is being armed by the UAE, who Australia has large-scale weapons exports to. Have you done a review?
We have discussed these issues.
Have you done a review?
In the course of our work, and we always engage on ensuring. We always work on ensuring that where there are extant permits, current permits, that we review them against contemporary.